Honestly, to me, it just comes down to caring about people. I mean, once you get to know the process, it's all the same thing. It's just caring about people. So to me, like once that's where I'm at now mentally. It's like I don't care if people are buying, listing. It doesn't matter what they're doing. It's like getting in their head and helping them achieve their goal and what they're really trying to achieve.
My name is Kevin McIntosh, and this is The Closing Table, where we talk to experts about their experience in real estate all across the country. Let's go. Welcome back to The Closing Table. I go by the name of Kevin McIntosh. Joining us on this episode, we will be speaking with producing professional Rennie Barton. How you doing, Rennie?
Excellent. How about you? Good?
Good, man. Thanks for asking. Appreciate that, man. We're here to check in on you, check your temperature, talk about your career and things of that nature. But before we even get that far, let's start the things off breaking some ice. I got a quick game. It's called Word Association, Rennie. I got about 5 words and or phrases related to real estate, and I just want to know where your head is. So you just give me your first initial response, whether that be just a word, a sentence, an explanation, whatever the case may be. Sounds good?
Great.
All right, let's run it. First one, home inspection.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Homeowner's insurance.
Great. You need it. I think you need homeowner's insurance, right? Like your house burns down, you want to make sure you're protected there, right?
So, for sure. Yep. Good point. Land.
Invaluable.
Okay. Here's the next one for you. Real property.
Good. Yeah, I mean.
Okay.
Yeah. Depending, yeah.
Okay. Last one. This is going to be interesting. Real estate investment trust, aka a REIT.
Great.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Simple, short, sweet, concise, to the point. We appreciate you for starting off, breaking the ice, and playing our game with us, Rennie. Now, let's talk about it, man. We want to talk about how you actually got going in your career and things of that nature. Very briefly, why don't you get us started by talking about how you got into real estate first and foremost, very briefly, and then talk about the market that you're currently serving, geographically speaking.
Absolutely. So I actually got into real estate around 2008, 2009. So it's definitely a crazy market when foreclosures were everywhere, right? I mean, I remember clients be like, "Hey, I want to see houses," and we had these things called HUD keys, where we could pick a neighborhood, and you just go and you get these things called HUD keys that every foreclosure these keys would work on. And you could show them 10 houses in one neighborhood. So it was way different than it is now, because now it's like people could pick their neighborhood back then. Now it's like, hey, you want to buy a house for 400,000, here's one in this city, and you might find one in another city, right? It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So, so I got in 2008, 2009. It was definitely a different market back then. I was actually coming from manufacturing. So manufacturing was definitely on a downside there, and everybody said, "Oh, this is job security being in manufacturing." Well, when you see your team dwindle down hundreds of people in manufacturing, it kind of clicked in my head that it's not as secure as people say it is. So God put it on my heart to actually sell my house. And I kind of thought to myself, I got to live cheaper. If I have 2 kids at home, I have to live off of McDonald's wages because I don't know what's going to happen. So I started asking around and got introduced to a real estate agent and just built a close relationship with them. So then they're like, "We're going to start a property management company. We want you to get your real estate license and get into property management." Well, within like 6 months, I realized that property management is not what I wanted to focus in on. I really loved helping people buy and sell homes. And that's what I ran with. And ever since, never looked back. So now
there it is.
Now I'm an owner of City Shore National Franchises. Got around 150 agents, 14 locations. So it's been good. Yeah, for sure.
Nice. Cool. All right. And geographically, where's the market that you currently serve?
Real estate wise or franchise side wise?
Let's do both, as a matter of fact.
So my main areas is the Grand Rapids area with real estate, Ottawa
Okay.
and Kent County, Allegan County, those ones. And then when it
Mm.
comes to the franchise side, because they're all individual owners, we serve pretty much all of Michigan and Florida, and we're
Oh,
expanding past
nice.
that. Yeah, for sure.
Nice. Cool, cool, cool. Okay, so I want to start off the show with, the basic question. You can ask anybody, how did you start off in real estate? Now we get into the specifics, right? So and you started and helped manage a brokerage with some friends that you know, right? And
Correct.
when I say started, I mean like started from the bottom. Now we're here, from the basement, literally.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how you transition from basically working with yourself, by yourself, solo, to working with a team, starting from the ground up.
Yeah, so when City Shore first started, I wasn't the original founder of it, but I was the first agent ever with City Two Shore with Steve and Shelley. We were at the basement of their house. Um,
Hmm.
that first year, their daughter came down with leukemia, and she was in the
Oh
hospital full
man.
time. She wasn't gonna. It didn't seem like she was gonna make it. It didn't seem like there was a ton of hope at that time. What's cool about it is we stepped in, and at the community kind of stepped in and helped. So they started City Shore. Within 6 months, they're spending most of their time in the hospital. So we had a lot of people that volunteered to go get video work, but we wanted to figure out a way to make it to where they didn't go and have to be out there doing non-profitable activities when they were actually selling real estate. It was like showing homes, it was writing contracts, it wasn't like dealing with title companies, lenders, it was more just direct, the things that a real estate agent had to do. So
Hmm.
that's kind of how I got into real estate, is helping them with that. Um, and out of the basement of their house. And then after a few years, they opened up their first location in Hudsonville. And I wasn't the owner of that at that time. I was just kind of helping them along. And then eventually I came to them and I was like, hey, we should franchise this. And we did. And that's when I became owner of the franchise company.
Wow. See, the whole thing about that is you were there from the beginning, at least when they started.
Right.
So, like, you have to have the ability to see the vision that they have in a way, right? Or at least trust the vision that they have. So, what motivated you to trust the process and when starting from the ground up with a brand new brokerage?
I think it's what Steve and Shelley, they sold really good vision. They knew exactly where they wanted to go. I like their
Hmm.
heart that it wasn't about them from the beginning. It was about people. It was about growing a
Right, right.
community of people, and to this day, their heart is there. Um, Shelley, all the work she puts in. I mean, I'll drive by their office, and she's still there at midnight, just hammering through things. I mean, she's just
Mm,
really focused in on people and making things happen and doing everything she can. Um, so that was mine. It's selling vision that this was going to be a global company someday, and and
right.
there wasn't any waver in her voice. She's going to do it with or without people. The people. She's going to make that thing happen, because she sees the vision of growing a specific thing, and that's caring about people. So, for an example, would be all the effort she puts in. Right, she puts in a ton of effort and doesn't, even if she wasn't expecting a gain, she still did it and followed through helping
Right.
people and had your back. So yeah.
Okay, good point. Good point. See, yeah, that speaks volumes as to the type of leadership or leader that she is, for her to have people that to believe in her vision by, just the way that she conveys it, she puts it out there in a way that she feels, or other people, I should say, are on board with it and believe in it. So good job, first and foremost. You all are doing a fantastic job over there. You also help them build some of the systems that they're currently using. Now, as a small business owner myself, I completely understand building a system from scratch for a business. Like it's always a moving target. It always evolves. But can you talk about like your experience developing some of the systems and some of the challenges you faced?
Yeah, so obviously, just as much as anybody, I mean, if you started 2008, 2009, we went through a lot of hard times. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there was definitely hitting COVID when you couldn't even show homes at the time. At least where we're at, they in Michigan, I don't know where you're from, actually in Michigan, you couldn't
Yeah.
even go into homes until the inspection period. So we got hit really hard. got hit with our software going down for almost a year. That controls all our back end systems. So we rebuilt that to
Oh
be as
man.
robust as possible. Yeah. So you figure everything we ran our business with, our software was down for a long period of time.
Ooh.
And we had to do everything by hand. So we rebuilt that and fixed that to where that'll never happen again, which is great. So,
Yeah.
we hit COVID where you can't do anything. Then our software went down, so we kept getting hit. I think that's where companies are made of. I think sometimes people try to get to this end goal of just trying to be the most successful company. I don't think. I think life is about the challenges, right? Like you look back and
Mm.
especially when you have kids, you're like, oh, having young kids is the hardest thing in the entire world, right? But you look back and say, that was the best time of my life. I feel that same way about businesses, right? You want to get to this certain point, but I don't think that's where the satisfaction is. It's actually going through the weeds with people
The
and
journey, yeah.
the journey. There's really something great about that, and um, you're stronger because of it. I think we're probably the strongest company I've ever heard personally when it comes to the things that we have gone through and the perseverance and getting through things that are really tough. So yeah, I don't know if
Yep.
that helps answer it, but yeah, that's kind of where we're at. We've been through some crap and we've actually made it out stronger than ever, which is pretty cool.
No, no, you answered the question. That's it's the entrepreneur resilience, man, and it's
Yeah.
being solution or based. You know what I'm saying? You basically explained it, and I love how you all overcame. Just imagine your entire system that you run your business on just falling through the cracks, just crumbling. Oh my goodness, that is a fear. Like just but you find solutions and you get around it. So got to tip my hat off to you for that.
Yeah,
Great
absolutely.
work. You mentioned earlier in your career that you were scared of listings. You were only doing you were working with buyers at first. I've never heard of this. That's new. So let's talk about what helped you overcome that hesitation to actually take on listings and give some advice for other agents who may be hesitant.
Yeah, so I actually do love this question because it's one of those things where I believe that everybody has greatness in them without a doubt. I
Mm-hmm.
think that they just don't accept it, one, or they don't. They're fearful of success. I think a lot of people don't realize, but internally they're fearful of success. So when I first started
Mm.
buying homes, we were in a buyer's market, and I was fearful of listing contracts. I was like, okay, I'm really good with buyers. I showed buyers, and I'm like, there's just so much to listing a home, and it was almost like a fear of even going after it. So once you start to learn and you get comfortable with one thing, long as you're always willing to educate yourself and take another thing and take another thing on. Now I'm selling franchises and but I went from not being fearful of listings now to there's nothing in real estate. I mean, done everything from developing whole properties to um, starting real estate franchise companies. So there's nothing in real estate that I'm fearful anymore. But I had to get through that. It's coming up with no excuses, right? I think everybody
Mm-hmm.
gives themselves excuses. I when I we first in the beginning, I remember going through this time of where I started getting mad because I kept hearing Steve Frody's name everywhere I'd go. I'd be at a networking event, right? And when I was at that networking event, it was at a big, oh, I heard Steve. Oh, I'm selling my house with him. And I remember getting mad at him about it. And I remember getting so mad. I'm like, I'm here in front of you, and all you're doing is talking about him. Like, this is crap. To the point where I I almost wanted to jump ship. I'm like, this is crazy because I'm putting in the work. But then
Mm.
then it came to me and it's like, is that his fault that he is so built so many relationships with so many people? That's not his fault. That's my fault.
There you go. Mm-hmm.
So I went out on a thing where I wanted, and it didn't take long. I was like, I want everybody to be saying saying my name to him. So I put in the work. I built relationship, went to networking events, cared for people, just cared for people more. That's what it came down to, right? Like actually giving a crap and really diving in and being with people and community. And then it wasn't even within a few months, Steve started coming into the office and was like, hey, I heard this person mention you. I heard that person mention you. And it actually
Okay.
flipped. And
Yeah.
so it kind of started flipping where he kept coming in, hearing people mention me. And that's when I knew that I was
Yeah.
doing something right.
Yeah, my man. See, I love that story. All right, so you touched on a few things. First and foremost, the fact that some people are scared of success. That's a little bit too deep. That's a little bit deeper than what people are probably really thinking about right now. Because if you really get into it, I think most people realize they have the potential to do a lot of things that they want to do, but they fear of reaching that actual potential and the work and the responsibility behind it. But that's a whole nother deeper conversation. I'm glad you brought that up. And it takes a real man, a real person to really admit that you felt some type of I don't even want to say envy or jealousy, but you felt some type of way about another man's success.
Yeah.
And on top of that, it didn't crumble you, it motivated you.
Right.
And that's something that really determines what type of person that you are. If something that you hear or see is either going to motivate you or destroy you, man. So, man, that spoke volumes right there. Can you talk about the main difference between the process of actually listing a home with a client and actually buying a home with a client? What are those two main differences that you learn?
Yeah. So honestly, it to me it just comes down to caring about people. I mean, once you get to know the process, it's all the same thing. It's just caring about people. So to me, like once that's where I'm at now mentally. It's like I don't care if people are buying, listing. It doesn't matter what they're doing. It's like getting in their head and helping them achieve their goal and what they're really trying to achieve.
Mm.
The difference, are you asking what the difference between buying and selling is? Is that what kind of the question you're asking?
Well, yeah. Ultimately, it's once you initially made that jump into starting to do listings, what did you essentially see? Like, what the difference was in the processes, or the clients when you're helping a client buy a home as opposed to selling a home. I mean, I know your experience is different now, but once you first made that leap over, what did you see the two differences were?
I would say for me, it was just, helping people buy a home. It's more of how you can guide them to achieve the goal and painting the vision in that house for what they're trying to achieve. I
There you
don't
go.
think I've flipped people to where they think they want one thing, but then once you actually get in their head for buying, they actually don't want the thing that they think that they want. Um,
Mm.
Well, I've had people go from buying single families to buying condos, right? And so it's really understanding what those people want. They know they want home ownership, but they just don't know exactly what it is. I've actually during open houses, I've actually won a lot of people over because they're like, you think creative, you're not stuck in this box of um, what you think that people want. You bring up all sorts of ideas, and you're not afraid of them like leaving or doing something different. I'm like, no, because it's about people. If you care about people, they typically will appreciate your thought process and what you do. With selling, I think it just comes down to being the best. I see a lot of uh, lazy agents. Personally, I see agents where they're not taking good pictures, they're not taking good photography, they're not taking good
Yeah.
video. They're not doing the right things when it comes to that. So I'm extremely picky when it comes in that aspect. I think if you have the right, if somebody's gonna trust you selling their house and you're going in with your iPhone and you're gonna take a few pictures, um,
Oh goodness.
yeah, you see that still, which is mind blowing. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll see it
Yeah.
sometimes in multi-million dollar homes, and I'll just be like, "What is happening here?"
Oh no, don't do that. Oh my
It's
goodness.
crazy. Um, but the unfortunate part as an agent is we can't call that out. I can't be like, oh, you got to be very careful because you want to respect your other agents and what they choose to do.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
but at the same time, I see a lot out there like, wow, that's really sad that you're handling it. These people are
Yeah.
trusting you, and you're putting out garbage, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah. See that also speaks to different people's systems and different people's methods, and some of that could be attributed to the actual real estate agent themselves, or that could be the philosophy of their actual brand. But it makes a huge difference in your marketing approach and tactics, right?
right.
So with that being said, you have a whole system that you're running that you help create, and you're kind of battling against these other bigger, well-known brands and brokerages. You know, the Remaxes, the Century 21s, and things of that nature. How do you plan for your franchises system to surpass the bigger name brand companies?
I love that question. So we talk about that all the time.
Mhm.
I think what makes us and why I know we can is when you're a big ship, it's harder to steer than, and honest to God, than a smaller. We are built for today's economy,
Mm,
today's society. Um, I don't think that they can do what we do. They're like, well, yeah, well, Remax, Keller Williams, Century 21, they can throw $1 million or $1.5 million, $2 million at software when City Shore doesn't have those capabilities.
right.
I don't think that they can do what we do because I can't imagine getting thousands and thousands of agents shifted over in a mindset instantly to something new like that, right? A whole company. So you're saying, hey, this is our model, this is what we do, and shifting them all over. I think we will win people when they are realize that we are an option and we actually do compete with them when it comes to software. I don't think that it's going to be hard to beat what we have when it comes to our software, our programs, because we were designed for today's. I think our biggest
Mm,
challenge is people don't know what we offer. I would say if they just gave us a chance, I'm not trying to, I don't care what they're doing. I don't care what all these bigger brands are doing. I'm saying just listen to what we have to offer. And I think people would be shocked that we actually compete plus. And just hear what we offer. I'm not saying that they have to switch, but I think people would be shocked to hear what we actually do and the things that we offer. So
there it is.
yeah,
There it is. Speaks volumes right there.
yeah,
Speaking of speaking volumes, word of mouth is a key driver in any and all business and industries. But you say word of mouth has been a major driver for the growth of your franchise specifically. Talk to me about this, right? How do you leverage the power and impact of word of mouth with your business, with your budget for marketing and branding? I don't know if that question makes sense, but I'll paint a picture in regards to, do you feel like, hey, the word for my business is going around so good, like I feel like I can kind of lower the budget on marketing? Do you ever kind of feel like that, or
you're hitting
just
home.
talk to me in that regards?
You're hitting
Okay.
home, brother. Like it's one of those things where right now we are actually in that spot. Um,
Mm,
we have spent a lot of money on branding and marketing. For us, the number one thing we're seeing a better return in is building our sphere and our people, and that is spread out. That's where all of it comes from. It's who you
okay.
know. It's building that relationship. It's saying, hey, do I have a team behind me? Um, I think anybody you can go to, you can pick any of the top brands in the country and say, is it worth me switching over to them? And people, it goes back to that fear thing. It's like, okay, software.
Hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of free software with AI and all this stuff. There's so much free stuff out there these days. And if you're not
Yeah.
using it, it doesn't really matter. And I think that's what a lot of agents are saying. They're like, that's great that you offer me this, you offer me that. And they're like, honestly, I don't care about that. Do I have a team that actually cares about me? Do I have people in the company that care about me? Do people have my back? Because it goes back to that fear thing of, if I'm a lone ranger out there and I'm doing all this crazy stuff by myself, there
Hmm.
I'm afraid to maybe tackle something. But if I know I have 10, 15 owning a franchise or even becoming an agent, whatever you do with City Shore, if I know that I actually have a ton of people that have my back and that are behind me, I'm going to be
Right.
less fearful to take those steps of going on a podcast, to going and listing maybe a multi-million dollar, anything that I want to do. I'm going to be less fearful because I know I got my people and the people pushing behind me that care about me and that have my back. When you're a lone ranger, and
Good
I think
point.
that's where a lot of people are right now as agents, I think they don't have that sense of community. I think we're going to go into a world, and this is where I might go off track a little bit here, reel me back in. I think we're going to go into a world where we're going to be in a global aspect of world, right? We're going to have AI, we're going to have virtual reality, we're going to have digital lands, we're
Oh
going to have a
yeah.
lot of
Oh
these
yeah.
things. I believe that with all my
Hmm.
heart. But I also think that people are going to want a sense of community within where they're at, right? I
Right.
think you can go into virtual worlds, but you don't know what's real and what you don't, what's not, right? So it's like, okay, when I actually could see my broker right next to me and I can talk to him, I I think that's where people are going to want, and I think that's where we're actually banking on right now is the sense of community.
There you go.
But we have everything else. We have all the software. We have everything. Yeah. So
Yeah, all the technology. No, I don't think you were far off track at all, man. That still speaks on word of mouth, and word of mouth has a lot to do with the human to human interaction, and the relationships that you actually, the rapport that you build with people. And a lot of that just isn't conveyed accurately just online or, the internet or whatever the case may be. So I understand where you were going with that. Can you talk about the strategies that you use to cultivate these strong relationships with your clients and agents? And before you even answer that question, right, it's really just asking, okay, how do you keep your relationship sharp? How do you get your clients to trust in you? And I know different realtors have different methods, right? Some of them, I follow up with them. I'll send them a fruit basket at the closing, or send them a birthday card. Just explain your methods into how you keep the relationship strong.
It's 100% keeping it real for me. It's when I go to a listing appointment, like for an example, if I go to a listing appointment, I would say 90% of that listing appointment has nothing to do with that transaction at all. It's just it'll, like, I had the other day where I had a couple sitting across from me, and they're just going through and they're both like talking, and they're like crying, and they're like talking with each other about like their marriage. I had another client that she's like, Rennie, I haven't even called my, I think I mentioned this before. It's like, um, I haven't even told my friends or family yet, but I just left the doctor and I have terminal cancer. She's an older lady, and she called her real estate agent that sold her a house 6 months ago, right? And she's calling
Oh,
me because it's, if you're, I guess that's where I take a lot of pride in, is like, if you really care about people, I don't think people are listening to them. I would say if you actually ask the
true.
average person that's listening to this right now, they're all so online, and there's nobody that's actually saying, I care, and let me get into the weeds about like where your life is. Do I care about you? Do you give them good, solid advice? Um,
Mm,
it's all surface level, right? Everything in today's world, we're going to a world of everything is not deep, it's wide. It's where your audience is. But if you go really deep with people, I think
good
people
point.
naturally are going to stay really loyal to you, and you can't worry about it. You can't worry about it. You just get, like, people, like if somebody does leave, or if they don't want to be with you. To me, I would rather have 100 people that really care about me that I'm with than 10,000 or a million people that are just really surface level.
Mm, mm, Man, you said it. You said it. I love the fact that you spoke on today's social society, basically focusing on how wide they cast their net, rather than how deep they make the relationship with the people that they have relationships with. That is absolutely the case. Like the people now they have, I'll admit, I have thousands of friends on Facebook. I probably don't even know most of these people
No.
personally. That's a prime example, man. You just called me out, Rennie. Oh my goodness.
You see it right now with famous people. There's a lot of famous people
Yeah,
that are
yep.
doing it, and what to teach on, and you'll do it with this podcast, I'm sure of it. It's called
Mhm.
shaking the tree. So let's say you get 1 million followers, you get 2 million followers, and so picture a tree with these leaves on it. You'll purposely throw a tweet out there just to kind of make people a little bit mad or whatever. So you shake the tree. So picture some leaves falling off. But now you got, let's say you had 1 million, now you're at 750,000 people. So then you reinforce everything you want them to hear, the message you want them to say. And then you throw
Right.
another tweet out there. Now you get to 1.5 million people. You shake that tree again. Now you're at 1.2, right? You do this rinse, wash, repeat, and you have enough now. You have enough people where they're actually your people. They don't care if you've been through some stuff. They don't care if you say something, and they're loyal enough to do crazy things. It's almost like cult
No, yeah.
like.
Yeah, you're right.
You see it with our
Yeah.
politicians right now. It's rinse, wash, repeat of
Mhm.
all. It doesn't matter if I make my people mad. I just need my loyal people and following. And I think you're seeing that with
Yep.
especially politics today.
Yeah. Hey, I always say there's a market for any and everything if you can build a strong enough following. That is a fact.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
hey, hey, Rennie, I saw you said in an interview, and I said, this cannot be true. You said one time you showed as many as 150 homes to one client. Tell me this was a joke or you were over exaggerating.
No, I
First
wasn't
and
over
foremost.
exaggerating. That was like, honestly, that was like normal back in the day. When I first got into real estate, I wasn't, and I still am not this guy. I want people to find what they like, right?
Hmm.
So in this case, when there's so many homes, it's hard to make a decision. So you'd be in one neighborhood, and I'm not exaggerating. You could go to one neighborhood and show 10 homes, but if you had somebody that was really indecisive, they would say, "Oh, I do like this." I mean, people were backing out of houses because of paint colors back then. And I know it's hard for people to realize that
What?
now, but markets do shift. It was a shift in the market. It was a time
Yeah.
where it wasn't anything like it is now, right? Like you
Mhm, mhm.
I mean, I had somebody back out of a house once back then because they just didn't like the how dirty it was. And it's like now it's like I don't know. It's just it was a different market, so you could show people 150 homes, and that wasn't just one person. That was pretty normal. You'd show somebody three
Man,
homes, three for 3 months, and easily get to 150 homes. You're showing 10, 15 homes, easy, yeah, a day,
dude.
yeah.
Dude, you are built different. Let me tell you that first and foremost. Cause 150 homes, it takes one person for me to have to show them 150 homes, and I'm saying real estate is not for me. That'll easily weed me out of the process. But that shows how true and dedicated you are to your profession. I gotta clap it up for that. So, is there a limit on how many homes that you're willing to share? Are you feel like 1,000 is too much? I mean, maybe you don't even put a number on it, but how long are you willing to work with a client? Or
It,
like, is there a max?
I have felt like it started to get a bit too much at some one point. I don't remember when it was, but I can remember being like, are these people ever gonna buy a home? I don't know if that's training to now that doesn't happen, but I don't know if that's because the economy's changed or if it's
Right,
more.
right, right.
Um, is there a limit? I think I've grown enough where I would know if somebody was actually serious and they're going to buy or not. I think I'm okay with having
Okay.
other conversations. I think that came with that time of just more bold, like not being afraid to really say some stuff. I'm much more bold on my conversations that I have with people, but in a caring way. Like now, if that's what it takes, and I know these people are serious and they just don't find their house, I have no problem showing them lots of homes. Like, especially if I enjoy working with them, which almost every person I do. If I don't, I'll just be even more bold with them until they decide that they don't want to work with me. Um,
Hmm.
being truthful with people, you know. Um,
Yeah.
I think that's why I feel like it's so important. You know, you get these agents because I think you have a lot of real estate agents that jump on this. One of the biggest things that I would recommend, especially if you're a new agent, is being more involved in a community. What I mean by that is making sure you're going to your local association, like the Michigan Association of Realtors here, the National Association of Realtors conventions, because you're going to learn how to talk to people. You're going to learn how to just deal with people a little bit more. Obviously, as I go every year, I'm learning more, and I think that's what changes. So yeah, that 150 homes, I don't think that would happen again. But would I show it do that again? Absolutely, I would. I would do it again. I would have no problem because to me, it's about caring
Man.
about people. Um, but I think I would start to have these bold conversations like, "Are you ready to buy a home? Are you truly ready to buy a home?" You know.
Rennie, the way you just explained that by that theory, you you said you're willing to show another 150 homes to someone because you care about people. By that logic, I don't care about people because I would not do that. I do, obviously, folks. This is a joke, but that really shows your heart, man. Because I'm looking at that number. That's like a small town. You showed them all of Eden Rapids, pretty much, in a way. But
Well,
great that you do that.
I think I do go out of my way a lot compared to a lot of real estate agents. Like, I think about it a few years back, about 2 years ago, I had somebody that I was showing homes with that his wife was in a wheelchair. And all these things went through my head because I literally had to pull the wheelchair and she wasn't a small lady up all the steps to show her upstairs and I'm like I thought to myself I was like what real estate agent's going to do this like
You
what
pulled her up some stairs in a wheelchair?
hold this wheelchair up one step at a time, just like like
Oh my
just
goodness.
for just so she could see the home, and it's like, um, I think first of all, I don't think most agents could have the capabilities of doing it, right? Like if you're like
Mm.
be able to pull a, a bigger person up the stairs in a wheelchair, but to me, I thought, and it's like I could have not done it, but to me, it was like they were actually awesome. I really liked them a lot, and I'm like, you
There
know,
you go.
I just want them to find a home. It has nothing to do with any of
Yeah.
that crap. But I did go, and I would have this conversation with my wife. I was like, what does it look like if she drops down these stairs?
Oh my goodness.
So
Can't believe you thought about that.
you do think about these things, and you're like, okay, do I do the right thing, and do I just say no? You got to figure it out. You're not able to buy a home, or do I step up and fill that role and say, hey, you know what? I want to find these people a home. Like otherwise, nobody else is going to help them, right? This poor lady isn't going to be
Yeah.
able to see her home, right? Um, So I just did it.
Such a scholar and a gentleman you are, Rennie. Man, all right, there you go. Putting your paw print in this world. Hey, so we already talked about the fact that you started around the 2008 housing crash. You also went through the 2020 pandemic and the things that the real estate industry went through in that one. Can you just talk about how you adapted your approach to real estate during these shifts and the type of advice you would give to other agents dealing with future type of events?
Yeah, I think that it doesn't really matter what happens. It's the
Mhm.
looking at the world of abundance instead of scarcity. Um, it's not like
Mm,
it's there. People do tear down homes, but it's very rare. There's more homes than there ever has been. There's homes out there. There's people. There's more people in the world. Things are moving. People die. People get married. People have kids. People get divorces. People, all this stuff is happening, and we want to.
right,
And when we say, "Oh, there's less inventory," it's so hard. It's like, no, it's you just have to shift and shift to the market. So it's like, okay, if you do see it's going to be a seller's market, maybe shift your brand over there so the people that you care about and that's in your world say, okay, I know Rennie can handle this, right? So in my eyes, it's like, okay, if we do shift over to a foreclosure market, let's say again, ever, which I don't see that coming, but if we did, can Rennie handle short sales? Does he know how to do foreclosures? Just putting that brand out there that people know that you've been through that and that you can handle that. People are making moves either way. I know
yep,
most of the National Association of Realtors right now is down, I think, by 30-40% numbers wise across the country just because real estate's not moving. I'm up. I'm actually up higher than I ever have been for the year. Um,
there you go.
so I don't know. I think we let fear again. Everything goes back to fear. We like to find and grasp every excuse that we can and saying, okay, the market. I'm hearing in the news, oh, the housing market's down, the stock market's down, and we like to use that fear. But the fact is that nothing has changed. There's the same amount of houses. There's the same more people. Same. So it's just like just going out there and building your community of people. People want to make moves. If it's a down economy, you have more. If they know that they can call me and say, "Hey, by the way, I'm not comfortable with my house payment. I had a multi-million-dollar home. I'm gonna go. I want to buy something in cash and downsize, or just being there
Right.
for those conversations. I don't think it really matters. I know a lot of people like to I like zone in. It's like, oh, what happens if the market shifts? I'm like, I really don't care. There's opportunity always. If you care about
Correct.
people, there's always opportunity. It's just, do you take advantage of it and do you sit there and say, no, I'm not going to use these things as excuses, or do you just keep pushing? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. See, that's that half seeing a glass half full, half empty type thing. It's all about shifting your perspective, which you spoke on multiple times, man. Like a situation can either make you or it's gonna break you. It's gonna build you or destroy you. But ultimately, resilience. That's gonna filter out the weak ultimately. So
In my experience, and I know this might not be normal for everybody, but my experience is when things are hard, you double down because
mm,
that's when everybody else is shook, right? So it's like, okay, I know things are hard right now. I'm gonna double down and really everything I got go after it because I think that's when your market share really grows. So if you feel like things are hard, double down on what you're doing, and you can't ever pour enough into yourself. If you're like, oh, I see people right now, they're like, oh, I don't have
man.
money. I don't have the money to do this, right? Like, so for an example would be the market's hard. I don't have the money to pay for coaching. I don't have the to get new business cards. It's like you don't have the money. You cannot not do it. Like you have otherwise just fold it up and go work for a manufacturing facility. Right now is the
Mm,
time to go do it, right? Like double down on yourself always. Um, I feel that about everything. It's like you can turn around and be super fearful or always just say, okay, I'm not worried about the real estate. Because I say this always to my team. It doesn't matter if I'm selling real estate or if I'm selling cars or popsicles. It doesn't matter. If I know I have the team around me, that is super successful. We can sit there and say, hey guys, we're selling real estate, but today real estate's not good. We're gonna go to selling popsicles. Go to my team like, hey, I need you to go hit up Meyer. I need you to go hit up this, hit that. Go talk to their
talk
purchasers,
about it.
make that happen. Marketing department,
Hmm.
make sure you're doing your marketing. We got to switch everything over to get a cool brand on the popsicles. Let's go. It doesn't matter. It's like just caring about your team. I think about
Yep.
I think about it, and I think it's Silicon Valley. I think you look at California, they're the top 10 GDP in the world, and they're just one
Yeah.
state. And you're like, well,
Ain't
why
that
is it?
crazy?
That couldn't have been just by coincidence. There had to been something that happened, a mindset of people that said, well,
Right.
we're gonna be a huge tech area over here. So it had to have been like a mindset. And that's kind of where my mind goes is I just want my community to sit there and say, let's go, let's be great, let's be bold, let's be big. It doesn't matter how we're doing it or what we're doing. Love people, care for people, and let's go. Well, I mean, shoot for the stars. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're in a world of messing around with that. I think if you want something, you go big, you double down.
There it is. And building with people who have the same vision as you. That takes us back to the beginning of what you did, man. That comes full circle right there. How has the real estate market in Grand Rapids, the market that you're currently serving, how has that evolved over the past decade or so? Or let's just say since you first started. First part question. Second part, what trends do you foresee in the future? What are your predictions?
So when I first started, I think it was just a mishap. I think in the banking industry, right? Um, you used to be able to buy homes. I mean, some of the homes that I could have showed now, those houses you could have bought for $50,000 now selling for $250,000, $300,000.
Oh,
Um, so that's just how that market was back then. Um, and then my experience is just like craziness with that. I think the craziest market I've ever seen, I would say, was probably the beginning of 2022 when they just started rising interest rates. I've seen people doing like crazy things jumping in the market because they heard their parents had 13, 14, 15, 18% interest rates. So I went from
mm,
the buyers, like a ton of people jumped in, and then they all got scared, and a lot of those, since they were first time home buyers, ended up just kind of twiddling it down now. Um, where I see the future of real estate, me personally, nobody knows. So I just want to set that disclaimer. Nobody knows where I think it
right.
could go. I think it's possible that people will not be able to own homes in the future. Um,
Wow.
you look and say, okay, institution buy-ins like BlackRock and Vanguard, the amount of homes that they're buying up in the world right now is insane.
Okay.
Um, I think the gap in buying homes is going to be really tough. I think people will make a lot of money in the future. I think that's possible, but it's going to be mainly you're going to rent your lifestyle. So if you want a house
Mm.
if you want a house on Lake Michigan, you're going to have large groups of people that own these homes and corporations that own these homes. And you're like, okay, I make $20,000 a month. I can afford a 400, 500, 600, $700,000 house from rent. I can afford this type of car, lease it. But I don't think in the future, I think it's going to be really hard for people to own land in real estate.
Mm.
I know.
Yo,
I really,
yo.
yeah.
You just dropped some atomic nuclear bombs just now. I don't think the audience was y'all. You might have to rewind that one because he spoke volumes on that. That one I agree with 100%. We already rent out or have monthly subscriptions to a lot of. We don't really own a lot of things.
No.
Oh my God, you just man, Rennie.
Yeah.
We could have a whole nother podcast about that one, yo. You just
I can
dropped the
get deep
bomb.
on this stuff. Yeah.
Yo, you did.
So I'm a
You
I'm a
did.
nerd. Like I don't watch any sports. My thing is I'm a member of the Grand Rapids Economic Club. I'm big in economics. I'm big into the stock
Okay.
market. If you're in the stock market at all, which I'm thankful that I'm big into the stock market. I care about it. It's something that it's my
Hmm.
hobby. When you see what these companies are doing and what they're spending their money on, it starts to shape reality, not fake news stuff. Where you're like, okay, this is what they're spending billions of dollars on.
Yeah.
You start to
Yeah.
know where the world is going, right? I'm not talking,
Yep.
oh, I just see this chart doing this. I'm talking about what is these companies actually spending money on? Where is the world
Right.
actually going? You start to sit there and say, all right, you start to have a very clear picture of where the world is going. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I
I
mean,
was just looking at that information from National Association of Realtors about institutional buyers and things of that nature, and I was like, oh man, that is. I mean, oh man, we can go down a rabbit hole with that conversation. But yeah, you hit it. That we clipping that up. Yep. Okay, yeah, we're gonna clip that part up. That was a great one. Hey, Rennie, I appreciate you for joining us here on the closing table. Before we get out of here, if you have any last words and/or want to tell the people how they can reach out to you, please do so now.
I'm Rennie Barton with City Two Shore Real Estate. We're a real estate franchise company. So if you are a real estate agent and you just want to know of another option, if you're happy where you're at, great. But if you just want to know of another option, give us a shout. I would love to sit there and just sit down and talk to you about what we offer. I think you'd be really pleasantly surprised about just keeping us out there as an option and what we offer. Reach me out at Rennie Barton, Rennie Barton, Barton at city2shore.com, or you can visit city2shore /franchising. We have a big team that's ready to support you, and some of the stuff we offer, I think you'd be mind blown. So give us an opportunity. So yeah, that's about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Please contact Rennie and pick his brain. Very knowledgeable man right there. Great conversation, Rennie, man. We could have had this for like another hour and a half if we wanted to. But hey, for our YouTube audience watching right now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, you got to hit the like button. Please do. And also make sure you hit the share button and subscribe to our channel. And if you are listening, mic check 1 2 on Apple, Spotify, or any other podcast platforms, please do the same. Give us a like, 5-star rating, and also subscribe for our latest content. Rennie, I'd like to leave our audience with a question before we get out of here. Hey, audience, how likely or unlikely is it that you will be able to assist your family financially with making a down payment on a home? Think about it and leave your comments below. Besides that, we'll see you next time.